Imagine that you've got the whole world at your fingertips. You're a young guy, you're the heir to a kingdom, you've got great friends who you trust, and you've got a little romance going with a great girl who your parents think the world of. And then, your father dies mysteriously and starts reappearing as a ghost with something to tell you, and your mother gets remarried to your uncle before you even have the time to fully grieve. Understand this, and you will understand the predicament that Hamlet finds himself in Act 1, Scene 2. Let's jump in. Act 1, Scene 2 is a kind of a long scene, naturally split into two parts, so I think that's what we'll do. Part 1 summary now, Part 2 summary in the next video. Act 1, Scene 2 opens up inside of Elsinore Castle in the throne room. A grand reception is underway. The room is absolutely packed with noblemen, influential people, and courtly ladies. Among these are the central characters of the play and those whom we'll be encountering until its end, or close to it. Those include Hamlet himself, King Claudius, Queen Gertrude, Polonius, and his children Laertes, and of course, the poor Ophelia. It's the first time that we meet King Claudius, the new king of Denmark. He was brother to the previous king, Old Hamlet, and that of course is Hamlet's father. When the scene opens up, touchingly, Claudius's first thoughts are of his brother. He says that although King Hamlet's death is still quite a recent event, and that it's only quite right that all of us here and the entire kingdom outside should be mourning, we can't let emotions get the better of our rational minds.
Though yet of Hamlet, our dear brother's death, the memory be green, and that it us befitted to bear our hearts in grief, and our whole kingdom to be contracted in one brow of woe. Yet so far hath discretion fought with nature, that we with wisest sorrow think on him, together with remembrance of ourselves.
We are indeed sorrowful to have lost him, but we must also think of ourselves and our present situation. That being said, the woman who was formerly my sister-in-law, his wife, is now our queen. Yes, it is official, she's my other half. She is the other half of this great and mighty state. I've taken her for a wife. Although this was a very bittersweet action for me. I did it with one eye glowing in happiness and one eye dropped in sadness. I did it feeling happiness, yet attending the funeral, and sadness while getting married myself. Basically, I'm half overtaken in sadness and half in joy.
Therefore, our sometime sister, now our queen, have we as 'twere with a defeated joy, with mirth in funeral, and with dirge in marriage, in equal scale, weighing delight and dole, taken to wife.
Claudius continues by saying that he didn't have to go against anybody's wishes, as everybody was behind him in terms of his marriage choice. He makes sure to thank everybody present for their support. Here's a guy who can really work a room. Enough of the sentimentality and the pleasantries. Now Claudius gets straight down to the business of the court. He begins to address some of the issues that Marcellus and Horatio were discussing on the battlements during Act 1, Scene 1. The greatest issue seems to be that order crisis with Fortinbras. Claudius speaks of the issue like it's common knowledge in front of everybody. Young Fortinbras seems to be taking advantage of the recent upheaval to Denmark's power structure. Claudius says as much. He informs all of those present that young Fortinbras thinks that Denmark is in disarray and that Claudius himself is a weak king. He wants to take advantage of these perceived negatives. He's been incessantly sending message after message after message to Denmark, demanding the return of the lands that his father lost to Old Hamlet. You might remember the information that Horatio supplied to us about this from Act 1, Scene 1. It's in our summary of that, so if you haven't seen it already, check out the link. I'll pop it up on the screen somewhere here. Claudius describes to everybody present the action that he has taken on this issue. He sent a letter to young Fortinbras's uncle, a guy called Norway, which signifies that he's in control of Norway. This king of Norway, he's in bad health. He's been totally bedridden of late, so basically he's oblivious to what young Fortinbras is doing. When Claudius gets words to him, he thinks that he'll be able to stop Fortinbras in his tracks because all of the high-ranking officials, all of the people over the army, and all of the supporting personnel needed to wage a war are actually loyal and in command to Norway and not to young Fortinbras. Claudius sends 2 of his envoys to deliver word to King Norway, but make sure that they know the limits of their mandate. That is, the details that Claudius has sent to the King of Norway and nothing else. Claudius is a guy who's in control. The men promise, of course, only to do what they've been asked to do. They pledge their allegiance to the new king and they exit. Claudius then turns his attention to the young Laertes. He's a young nobleman and he's the son of Polonius, one of the crown's most close and trusted advisors. Laertes is an important character in the play, so I think what we'll do is we'll have an upcoming video on him alone, paying particular attention to the parallels throughout the play between him and Hamlet. Now, Claudius knows that Laertes has some request for him. Presumably it's been recorded on the minutes or whatever they did, so he basically encourages him to spit it out when he comes before him. He's quite forceful, but he's encouraging at the same time, ensuring that Laertes, that his father being so close to the throne, will mean that the throne will basically do anything for their family that, you know, they possibly can, anything that's within their remit.
And now, Laertes, what's the news with you? You told us of some suit. What is Laertes? You cannot speak of reason to the Dane and lose your voice.
My dread lord, your leave and favour to return to France, from whence though willingly I came to Denmark to show my duty in your coronation, yet now I must confess that duty done, my thoughts and wishes bend again toward France, and bow them to your gracious leave and pardon.
Laertes begins by referring to Claudius as a powerful king. He knows how to act in certain situations. He's got a very simple request. He left France to come back to Denmark for the new king's coronation. Now that all of that is over, he wants permission to return home again. Claudius asks Laertes if he has his own father's permission to return, which is a kind of a nice touch. Polonius speaks up and says that begrudgingly he does. Although it's hard for him to see Laertes leave, it's Laertes' wish that he does, therefore it's his wish, and the king allows it.
Have you your father's leave? What says Polonius?
He has, my lord, wrung from me my slow lead. I do beseech you, give him leave to go.
Take thy fair hour, Laertes, time be thine, and thy best grace spend it at thy will.
He gives his permission to Laertes to leave, and then finally he turns his attention to what we've all been waiting for, the play's namesake and its central character, Hamlet. So that's the end of the first part of our summary for Act 1, Scene 2. We hope you've learned something new from Eduguru. Make sure to check us out in our socials. You can find information about upcoming episodes on X, on Instagram, and on TikTok. This will also be on Spotify as a podcast in case you want to pop it on in the car while you're driving, or maybe you've got those exams coming up and you just want to put the headphones in and listen to it, have me lull you off to sleep at night, and just maybe have all that information osmose into your brain so you're ready when the big day comes. Finally, if you can see it in your heart, please click on the subscribe button and turn on the notifications so that you'll know when a new episode comes out. It really does help the channel out. And if you've got any questions, of course, about anything in this scene or anything in Hamlet at large, just pop us a comment down below and we'll try our best to get back to you. Don't forget to check out the second part of this summary and all of the other videos, the links to which will be coming up on the screen very shortly. But until the next time, look after yourselves.